Hey you guys, welcome back to another box office breakdown. This is of course a series of videos that I enjoy doing from time to time whenever things in the box office are going on that I just find interesting. And let me tell you, this last weekend was very interesting for a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, Jurassic World Dominion hit #1 at the box office for the second weekend in a row, only dropping 60% to $59 million. Now this is particularly interesting because it had such a negative critic score that I thought would end up impacting its second weekend gross. I thought that it would probably drop like 70%, but nope, it ended up being #1 again, $59 million, very solid showing in the second weekend. It's still, of course, not as high grossing as the other two entries into the Jurassic World film series. I'm not including Jurassic Park in that, but still a good showing in its second weekend, proving that people still want to go out and go see dinosaurs eat people, I guess. It's still not going to end up being the first billion-dollar movie post-pandemic, but still a really solid showing for that film. Now, what is particularly interesting about that is that it beat out Lightyear in its debut weekend. Now, I thought Lightyear was probably going to make $70 million opening weekend, pretty good, but it actually only made $50 million. And while $50 million is a lot of money, it doesn't come anywhere close to what I would expect a movie affiliated with the Toy Story franchise to make. And it's particularly interesting because, kids are home from school. It's the middle of June. It is a known franchise. Why did parents not take their kids to go see Lightyear? Why is a dinosaur movie that has like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes outgrossing you in its second weekend? And there are a few reasons why this happened, I think. The first of which being that Disney has relegated their Pixar movies to Disney Plus over the last 2 years. Now, granted, some of that I think is fair given the fact that hardly any movies were getting released into theaters, but I think over time it conditioned audiences to believe that Lightyear would just be a day-and-date release or it would just be on Disney Plus. So it's like, why would I go to the theater to pay for this thing whenever I know it's going to be on my TV? Only for the weekend to arrive and have parents realize, oh, it's not on Disney Plus. Well, I didn't budget out $100 for my family to go to the movie theater this weekend. Guess we're watching one of the other quadrillion children's material on my TV. And that's not me saying that just because it's animated, it has to be for kids, but you understand. Lightyear, you're going to take your kids to go see Lightyear. I'm sure that there are plenty of adults that want to go see it, but come on. This is a family movie. Either that or parents are thinking, oh, well, it's going to be on Disney Plus like within a month. I mean, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness hit theaters last month. It's coming on to Disney Plus this month. So why pay $100 to have my family go see it now whenever I could just chill at home for the next month and then it's just on my TV? So really, I think Lightyear is a victim of Pixar movies being put onto Disney Plus the day of their release and not being put into theaters outright. So I think there's that element there, but then we also have to take into account the critics score and the audience score. It seems like there's been kind of a mixed reaction to Lightyear thus far. Now, it's been mostly positive, but it's still like in the positive reviews, there's been kind of mixed signaling saying that like the first half is good, but the second half doesn't feel earned. I personally can't attest to it because I haven't seen the movie yet, but I think that could be playing a role in there too. Ultimately, I think Lightyear is still going to make its money back. Its budget was at $200 million, not including marketing, but we also have to think about the fact that animated movies tend to have pretty good legs. I mean, look at number 6 in this week's box office report. The Bad Guys came out 9 weeks ago, and it's still chilling there. I mean, it made just shy of $1 million, but, I mean, I think as long as Disney doesn't jump the gun and put this onto Disney Plus next month, that we can expect Lightyear to be around all summer long. So Lightyear underperformed in the box office this weekend, but you know what didn't underperform? Top Gun Maverick. Now, I cannot overemphasize how big of a deal that this is. Top Gun Maverick made $44 million in its fourth weekend. For context, in its opening weekend, it was projected at $80 million. And now it's making more than half of that in its a month after it was released. I mean, are you kidding me? It only dropped 15% week over week. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that it benefited off of Father's Day weekend because, I mean, come on. This is the perfect movie to take your dad to go see. But I think Top Gun Maverick proves that whenever you get talented filmmakers coming together for a project that they're passionate about, not cutting corners for, people are going to flock to go see it. I mean, this is a movie that is a sequel to a 36-year-old film. that has ended up being the closest thing to a hit that we've gotten in years. I mean, think about it. It seems like everybody loves this movie. What this film did is it brought in the movie-going audience that hadn't been back in 2 years, and it gave them a reason to come back multiple times. Tom Cruise and the filmmakers crafted a movie here that has to be experienced on the big screen and actually gives people an excuse to go with their friends, with their families. Anybody could love this movie. Consistently this summer, I've been a part of groups where eventually the conversation shifts to, have you seen Top Gun Maverick? And there's always that one person that hasn't seen it, and the entire room goes, you have to go watch it. It is unbelievable what this movie is doing, and I'm going to throw this out there. This might be wild, but I think it has a chance to go number 1 next weekend. Now, hear me out before you say that I'm just dead wrong. Jurassic World Dominion, if it drops another 60%, it'll be at $24 million. If Lightyear drops a similar percentage, it would be slightly below that. Even if it doesn't drop 60% and it's above Jurassic World Dominion, it's somewhere below $30 million. If Top Gun Maverick drops like 30%, it's at $30 million, you guys. That is totally reasonable at this point for Top Gun Maverick because it's not really losing steam. I mean, yeah, it's dropped out of like 200 theaters weekend over weekend, but I don't think, if theater owners are smart, they're going to keep it on their screens because clearly it's still bringing back audience goers. Now, we do have to factor in that Elvis is coming out next weekend. I don't know how much money that movie's going to make. I would think maybe $30 to $35 million. I think $40 million would be on the high end for that film. If it gets over $40 million, then I'm just completely wrong, and it must be getting positive word of mouth at that point. We do have to think about, the cross-pollination there between Elvis moviegoers and Top Gun Maverick moviegoers. They're probably some of the same people. So Top Gun Maverick may lose out on some business due to Elvis coming out, but I think that it is totally rational that in its 5th week, Top Gun Maverick is at the top of the box office again. And if that ends up being the case, I want some credit that right here on this channel, I said it first. Watch it drop like 70% and be like 5th in the box office next weekend after I say that. Long story short, Top Gun Maverick is a mega hit. I think at this point we need to start theorizing about what other random 80s movies are gonna get a long-awaited sequel. Now, I don't know, as long as it's done well, I would be up for a Ferris Bueller's Day Off sequel, maybe like a modern-day take on Gremlins, something like that. I'm for it. Top Gun Maverick is the first hit in a few years that just collectively across the board, across all age groups, everyone can enjoy. Yeah, The Batman made a lot of money back in March, but there are still plenty of people that don't like comic book movies and they don't like dark and gritty films, so it didn't hit with everyone. But with this film, it seems like everyone in unison loves it, and that's just such a beautiful thing. Movies at times can be so subjective, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that don't like Top Gun Maverick, but the fact that so many people have come together to say, we support this movie, we love this movie, we're going to keep giving it its money, that's just incredible. But anyway, those are some of the key takeaways this week in the box office report. I was really happy to see this. Think about it. 3 movies over $40 million in this week's box office. Unbelievable stuff. Movie theaters are back. I'm just so pleased to say that. I'll be back next week talking about Elvis, and we'll see how that shook up the box office this weekend, what the percentage drops of these are, and I'll say it again, if Top Gun Maverick is number 1 next weekend, you heard it here first. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.